I'm not saying his compositional style is perfect and that it hasn't led to a few stinkers. Fairweather Friends and Fortress come to mind. I'm sure I'm going to get a bit of hate for that. But I think it's fair to say that he's one of the more auteur musicians.
What the fuck is this?
This channel began its second evolution back in 2023 with the release of my video on Josh Homme and his drunken stumble technique. The video has been quite successful so far. It has its flaws, but I'm generally happy with how it turned out. I have, however, noticed something interesting in the engagement data. The video's got around 1,100 comments. 40% of them are resoundingly supportive, which is really nice. I love you. Around 30% are really angry about the fact that I said Fairweather Friends and Fortress were bad Queens of the Stone Age songs. The remaining 30% are based around the fact that the video is pretentious, overanalyzed shit. That's fair, I reckon, that last point. Turns out that Aussies aren't just good at drinking out of shoes and over-leveraging on property. We're great at useless bullshit too. In any case, having reviewed the grievances of the general public, I am now ready to present a well-reasoned follow-up.
It takes a big man to admit his mistake, and I am that big man.
So originally I called Fairweather Friends a stinker. I've since changed my mind, but let's first examine why it didn't initially fire my loins. Like Clockwork is stacked with hits. In fact, it wouldn't be controversial to say that it's just behind Songs for the Deaf in terms of the ratio of filler songs to memorable numbers. With the exception of a few lulls, the album is fantastically paced. Fairweather Friends is one of these lulls, or so I used to think. It comes just after the haunting, disturbing Collapsia, and is followed by the ballsy, stomp rock-coated Smooth Sailing. I originally thought that you could easily drop Fairweather Friends, as well as the plotting Vampire of Time and Memory, and still adequately convey the darkness and aggression that underpins the album. I have since decided that I was wrong, and you all helped convince me. The sense of broken pacing I used to get is actually a unique element of Fairweather Friends. Its many intros. The song has at least 2 false starts, the first being the introduction with its warbling chants, the second being the instrumental build-up just after those chants. That second introduction itself meanders a bit before settling down, which is the point where Josh comes in with a single guitar and his vocals. Those familiar with my Drunken Stumble video might agree that this brief section is another example of the trope. Fairweather Friends, structurally speaking, is quite an asymmetrical song. This is something it shares with the Vampire of Time and Memory. The other songs on Like Clockwork have more conventional verse and chorus structures. Even the guitar solos come in when you expect them to. This asymmetry can be disconcerting at first, but not if you accept that the early parts of the song make the climax much stronger. The song is the second shortest on Like Clockwork and wastes no time moving through its many ideas, sections, and rhythmic turnarounds. When we get to the point that the whole band is in and the pace is surging, the tension is relieved as quickly as it was built. This is around the time that Josh is singing the line, "So what's gonna take to get you back in bed?" Like Clockwork features a diverse crew of cameos, from the Scissor Sisters' Jake Shears to Charlie May from Spooky. If you weren't paying close attention, or even if you were, you might miss their presence entirely. None of the guest contributors stand in Like Clockwork's limelight. They add their vocal and or instrumental talents to the pot. On the face of it, you'd think it a dumbass move to invite Elton John on your record, only to hide his iconic voice within a chorus and beneath several effects. I used to think that when I discovered that he features on Fairweather Friends. His piano parts are clearly audible throughout the song, giving it more backbone and tonal variety, but his voice is really only distinguishable during a few brief windows. I'm not even sure to this day that I'm hearing Elton. The growl of the late great Mark Lanigan is in there too. The reality is that disguising Elton was the best thing for the song. If he shared lead vocals or had his own sections, the song would become Elton John's song. His influence is simply too overpowering. I have no doubt that he still lent his songwriting nous to the track, even beyond the serviceable piano parts. Josh's restraint with this cameo makes the song more interesting and definitely better. There are parts of Fairweather Friends I still don't really like, but I'll pick just one. The song deserved a better ending than the aborted landing we got. Josh is all about in-jokes and self-awareness, I've covered this before, but the abrupt fuck it take just jars against the strange and oppressive mood of the rest of the album. It doesn't belong.
I don't give a shit about them anyhow.
Anyway, that's all I've got for Fairweather Friends. I was wrong. It's not a stinker, it's a great song, especially in the context of the greater album. But before you start writing messages of praise and adulation in the comments, stow your fingers, because you're about to hate me again.
And so he would have these great ideas that, part of the thing is to listen. He would have these ideas that would be something we normally wouldn't do, but I thought, well, why not check it out? For God's sake, I'm all dressed up.
Villains is Queens of the Stone Age's most polarising record, thanks mostly to its ill-suited production scheme. As most know, Josh chose Mark Ronson as his producer, wanting to augment his established songwriting style with Ronson's radio-friendly pop skill set. The result is a record that sounds flat, tight, overcompressed, somewhat anemic. The album has its share of strong songs and really great riffs, but they've all been pushed through Ronson's vacuum sealer, and what results is a distinct loss of power. Feet Don't Fail Me is a cracking tune, and a Hall of Fame opener for a Queen's album. When you listen to the band perform it live, however, you hear what it could have been. It's got so much balls. I want that version of Villains. This brings me to Fortress, the only song on the album to fall flat not just because of Ronson's touch, but because of its slow pacing and lackluster energy. Before I go any further, I'm going to batten down my shitstorm hatches and say that the worst Queen song is still better than the stuff of most of the band's contemporaries. If you love this song, that's awesome. You don't have to agree with me. First, I want to address one of the most common reasons viewers gave for why Fortress was good. The fact that it was written for and about Josh Homme's kids. I shouldn't have to say that that's a wonderful, honourable thing for a father to do for his children. I really dig the sentiment. If you like Fortress for that reason and no other, then that's enough. Thing is though, for me, this isn't just a song for his kids. It's a song he packaged up and shared with the world. It's a commercial product. I don't matter enough to Josh, nor to his kids, to sever that sacred connection with my jaded opinions. So while I can appreciate the love Josh has for his progeny, I can't help but feel that the lyrics are a little trite and that the whole fortress metaphor is not deep enough to warrant 5.5 minutes of exploration. Especially when the accompanying music lacks many of the trademark flourishes and foibles for which Josh is renowned. Fortress is simply a song you might expect from some 2000s post-rock outfit like Grinspoon or Incubus.
I can feel your anger.
I will say that the song draws you in with its intro. We fade into a few layers of wailing, moaning guitars. Then the main synth part comes in. The mood is foreboding, apprehensive. It's the last moment, frankly, in which the song has any kind of atmosphere. I hear the influence of longtime Queen's collaborator Trent Reznor here. The first verse then begins, carried by drums, bass, and the main synth, with some heavily reverberated guitar harmonics floating around in the ether. Josh's vocals stand starkly in front of it all, which I imagine was done to convey vulnerability. Fair enough, that kind of works. The rhythm section trundles along, never quite building to anything. Ronson completely killed the crash cymbals in the mix too, so when John Theodore hits them, they barely register as accents. Mikey Schumann's arpeggiated bass lines are at least a little interesting. He does, after all, have a lot of space to fill. At around 2 minutes 51, there's a bridge section, which is the song's highest point. We take a few steps outside the key's best fitting chords, and consequently, the melody takes a few unexpected turns. It's cool, but once again, the rhythm section has no power, no real enthusiasm. They all sound bored. At 3 minutes 17, when this section ends, we're treated to a paired back go-round of the verse section. Josh plays his bar chords and John Theodore does the drum and snare stomp clap thing. It sounds so strange to me here. What about Fortress's dirgy tempo suggested that a breakdown was needed? The song's central idea isn't worthy of a victory lap. That tinny, bottomless production only draws attention to itself. They could cut out those 10 seconds, as well as one of the repeat choruses, and the song would do its job. Let's pause here for a minute, take a break. While you watch this relaxing clip of English cook Mary Berry making a classic English quiche, I'll share with you a fun little Easter egg I found. At the beginning of Straitjacket Fitting, the closing song on Queen's latest album, you can hear what I think is a sample from the beginning of Pink Floyd's Money playing deep in the mix. Individual sounds are hard to pass, but you can definitely make out the jingling of coins and the tearing of cash register receipts. I won't bore you with an analysis of what this edition means in a metaphorical or symbolic sense. It probably doesn't have any subtext at all. It's just cool to see an iconic sample from an iconic album put in an alien context. If someone has noticed this before me, let me know and I'll give them due credit. Let's get back to it. Ronson's touches don't make Fortress more engaging. If anything, they add to the tedium. The wailing guitars from the intro become a sharp, annoying drone that carries on throughout the song. They hang mostly around the song's root note, noodling up and down occasionally. Not so loud that they're distracting, yet not so quiet that they don't grate. I know I'm being very negative about a song that resonated with many people.
Goose fraba. Goose blah blah.
I want to say that the composition isn't irreparably flawed. The issues I have are more related to the song's presentation. I wonder if the drum beat is part of the problem. Even when you speed up the tempo of the song, the 4 on the floor rhythm just feels awkward.
The first thing I like to do when I'm working on the track is just to take the drums.
It also sounds like a Placebo song, which is kind of funny. Maybe some syncopation on the snare might have livened things up a bit, like so. Those who need more evidence that the song might work better in other performance contexts should check out this acoustic version of the song. Everything I believe Queen's intended to convey with the studio recording is better realised here. The droning guitar lines are more prominent, and without the wet reverb, they have a sitar-like quality. They're a part of the song you can't ignore now, and not just atmospheric window dressing. The bass and synth parts are more warm and rounded. The power chords have a bit more depth. Most crucially, John's percussion sounds livelier, and without the studio recording's flattened drum kit, the pace no longer feels so gummy. There you have it. Fairweather Friends is certified gold, and Fortress is still, as far as I'm concerned, a well-intentioned stinker. Pull up Fairweather Friends and Fortress side by side and just listen to how the two songs present their dynamics. Even if you think Fortress is a melodic masterpiece, you cannot argue that it has any force or vitality. Ronson smothered the Queen's gritty, abrasive soul with a layer of plastic.
Fuck off, clean shirt.
If you're not enraged right now, I want to say thanks. Thanks for watching and for helping me rediscover the music of one of my favourite bands. If you are pissed, I also want to say thanks, and I mean it. Be sure to head to the comments now and post a clever vitriolic response. The best burn relating to how I'm a pretentious douche will win a limited edition Queens of the Stone Age Fortress Lego set. As you can see, it's beige and half finished.
"もう死んでいる。